welcome to Guitarist TV. My name is Jason J. Rock Houston, and we have with us today Love and War lead singer Jeff Vandenbergue. Am I pronouncing your name right, Jeff?
Yes, you are. Vandenbergue. That's correct.
Vandenbergue. Like Adrian, no relation to Adrian Vandenbergue, huh?
No, we did meet, though, and he asked the same thing.
How cool is that?
He said, do you speak Dutch? And I said, unfortunately, no.
You got the beautiful blonde hair like Kimbo, huh?
Anyway, it was pretty neat, though.
What is going on with Love and War? I mean, to start with, you guys are from Texas, is that correct?
Absolutely. Houston, Texas.
All right. And is there much of a metal scene or even rock scene there these days?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, in fact, we've got some shows coming up. We'll be playing at a place called Concert Pub North this Friday night. And then the following Friday night, we're opening for Tom Kiefer and John Corabi at Rise Rooftop Lounge. It's a huge concert venue downtown downtown.
What a bill. I mean, two great classic rock singers like that, and then you guys come on. I mean,
yeah.
So Tom Kiefer, I've always loved. I mean, I've always thought, he is Cinderella, if you know what I mean, and it's
oh yeah,
different band.
This is actually going to be our third show with him.
Wow. And
so, yeah.
he's had all those issues with his voice over the years. It's great that he's still able to do what he does,
Oh yeah, he's got that gravelly,
And I've always been a huge Corabi fan, since his days with Motley Crue. Like a lot of people, that's where I first became aware of him, and I've been following him ever since. And it's interesting, he's doing these solo shows, and he's also back with the Dead Daisies. So
yeah.
That's cool.
I don't know if he's going to be just doing like an acoustic thing by himself, like he does when he's on the cruise ships.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've ever been on any of the rock cruises, like the Monsters of Rock cruise. I met him there, and oh my God, they're a blast. But you gotta prime your liver for those things, man, because you're drinking on a ship for 5 days straight. And they slide an itinerary under your door every morning. And you got meet and greets and just bands playing all over the ship all day and all night for 5 days.
Wow. And
it's a blast.
I love the background there. And if anybody knows, that's of course the album cover for the Love and War album, Edge of the World.
That's correct.
Talk a little bit about, the album cover we're looking at there, your background. Who designed that? That's pretty cool.
Actually, John's brother is a graphic designer for books, and he did that for us.
Yeah.
So John's brother, his older brother, did that for us.
I mean, it's kind of it sounds silly to say because the album's been out only a couple of years, but it's kind of become an iconic picture. I mean, obviously it's got, like, on the plane, it's got the band's name. It's one of those things when you think of Love and War, you always think of it. At least me.
There's
this picture.
All of our initials are kind of hidden somewhere on the plane. If you look at the plane, everybody's initials are actually hidden somewhere on the plane. So, my JV is there on the tail, and John's is somewhere up here, and Donnie and Ray, we're all on the plane somewhere hidden. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Me and John were joking one time when I interviewed him about the fact that, like, on Facebook he has to put his whole name, John Anthony Adams, because otherwise people think he's a
Johnny A.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about you, Jeff. I mean, as far as since I'm kind of getting to know you for the first time, who were some of your influences as far as the singers that influenced you growing up?
Oh wow! Well, obviously Robert Plant, Led Zeppelin. I used to listen to that. I used to listen to 8 tracks of them while I was reading. While I was reading books.
Kind of aging ourselves here, but I dig that.
I'm no spring chicken. I won't lie, but Robert Plant was definitely number one up there. And then of course Rob Halford, Priest. I used to love who is very underrated. You don't hear about him very much, but he's a phenomenal singer. Is Steve Walsh, the singer for Kansas.
Oh wow!
His voice was just powerful, man. And the way he ran all over the stage all night long like that and did handstands on his keyboard and he was just a phenomenal singer, I think,
Yeah.
Sure. He was a huge influence to me. I used to warm up singing to those albums back before I'd do a show, or like before I'd go to rehearsal or something. I'd take a hot bath and have my headphones on. My neighbors thought I was drowning the cat because all they hear is me going, ha,
Yeah. And I gotta say, you say you may be no spring chicken. But I gotta tell you, Jeff, I think the rock and roll life is keeping you looking young.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It does. I think it does. We're all Toys R Us kids. We don't want to grow up. So
that's another kind of retro reference. A lot of people don't know. Toys R Us.
Yeah, I'm a Toys R Us kid for sure.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that was back in the day. But yeah. So let's talk a little bit about now. You guys recently, I think it was last year, you re-released the album. It's now kind of you get a 2 CD set, which is you get some bonus tracks with it, I believe. It's a total of 20
there's a bonus track of us doing a live version of a Judas Priest song. It's Delivering the Goods, and it's kick ass. It really came out good.
Yeah. And then you also have the original the debut album, Up the Ante. Which I think, if you're a Love and War fan, that's pretty cool, because to me, you're really getting you're giving your fans a little something extra. Plus, as a fan, I dig the fact that, okay, you got the debut album, you have the most recent album, so you don't have to buy it separately. You can get as they say, the deluxe package. You get everything. Yeah.
It's really cool. And you can get it through No Dust Records, or you can get it through. We have 2 labels, that one out of Amsterdam and one out of New York, and you can get it through the No Dust Records website.
That's pretty cool.
Order as many of them as you want.
Because especially, you have your loyal fan base, but then you always have people discovering the band. And so for somebody just discovering Love and War, it's pretty cool to be able to kind of get everything that's out all at once, Oh, wow, okay, so this is the latest album, this is what came before, and they can get a double dose of Love and War.
And there's a lot of great material on that first album. I mean, it's a little heavier than I think our second album, really.
Yeah.
There's some heavy stuff on that album, and I love it. We still do it live too. We still do a bunch of that stuff live.
Yeah, I think you guys are gonna have the same problem with bands like Def Leppard have. Is I mean, people hold like Pyromania and Hysteria. It's like, well, I don't know which one do I like better? Which one is better? and you guys are kind of along those lines of like, okay, people really think they love the latest album, but we got the stressful thing of trying to top.
If you've never heard the first one, it's kind of fun to revisit it, And
yeah,
we were kind of all over the map. There's some funky stuff on there,
but that's you finding your roots, especially on the debut. You're trying to.
And we did the same thing with our second album. I mean, you got a song that sounds kind of Van Halen-ish. You got Southside Johnny, which is way out there. And then you've got all the other new stuff, So and we're working on some new stuff now, so hopefully we'll have another one to start recording here, hopefully maybe by next summer.
Wow. And I should let people know watching this that I forgot to mention the fact that my co-host usually does this with me, Joe Lawson. He was unable to do it tonight. He had to work, so that's why he's not here. But we booked the show, and so we have that kind of the show must go on kind of attitude,
Right on.
We don't want you. Okay, we got into trouble booking a show with you, so we're gonna do it, And I'm glad we did. And so, talk about, have you been with the band? Well, I guess you've been with the band since inception, right?
John and I are the founding members. Yes,
wow.
Yeah, I've been through every form of it. This is by far the best one of all.
How did you and him first hook up? Just being fellow musicians, playing the same Texas scene.
I actually used to hang off of high rises for a living, and I was sent to Houston to teach the owner of this company how to rappel off of high rises, doing caulking. And we used to walk down the side of buildings like Spider-Man, like 200 feet in the air, walking down the side of a building. That was me. And I was flown to Houston to teach the owner's son how to rappel. And we happened to find Cardi's. It was a rock club in the 80s.
Wow.
Back in the 80s, man, there was a badass rock club. And I walked in, and I was standing there taking a pee at the urinal, and Lance Nix comes walking in, who just passed away recently too. Yeah. But he was the drummer. He came walking in, damn it, I need a singer. And I said, well, I'm a singer, but I'm not from here. And he said, well, give me your number anyway. And John came to my hotel to pick me up to take me to the studio. And we did stuff from Ozzy. We did the Scorpions, you know, and I loved that they had original material. And that's how John and I met. And he, of course, he wasn't, he was a shy guy back then. I mean, but he had hair down to his ass and he could shred. I mean, he would just look down at his guitar and just, you know, that stance, you know, he had the Michael Schenker stance.
Well, I could see why you and him would get together. I mean, because you're so right. I mean, you're much more outspoken. If anybody's ever talked to John, he's much more soft-spoken of a guy. But as you say, he does.
He's come out of his show a lot, but yeah, back then he was real shy.
As you say, he does his magic on stage like the rest of you.
Oh my God, he's all over the place. He's a monster on stage now, man.
And you know what? I mean, what an interesting story. I don't think I've ever heard a story like that as far as how somebody formed a band or got together with their bandmates.
Well, they had a band called Works, and I came and listened to them, and we jammed and I just fell in love. I was like, oh my God, because I moved here from El Paso, Texas, but before that I had lived in New Jersey. You know,
okay.
So
and you know, yeah. Let me ask you, Jeff. Like, other thing is, correct me if I'm wrong, but Love and War is one of those bands. Doesn't even through the pandemic, the lockdowns, somehow it seemed you guys still stayed quite active.
We were still trying to play. We had a lot of shows. That's right when we released the CD.
Yeah.
COVID hit, and it totally screwed us. I mean, we released our CD, and it was being distributed by CD Baby, and they shut down distribution. And we had people from Japan and Paris calling us and saying, hey, send me, you know, we want 200 more records, send me 200 more CDs. And we're like, it was costing us more to ship our CDs over the world, around the world, than it was that we were actually making off of them. So because CD Baby shut down for that whole pandemic thing. And a lot of our gigs, you know, a lot of the venues shut down as well. So,
and again, we're in different parts of the country, but you know, I guess maybe too, partly because of the internet, at least, you know, you guys are always still posting stuff about the band.
Oh yeah, we kept trying to play locally as much as we could, you know.
And it just maybe it seemed like it to me that you guys were still active, or at least attempting to be. Would you say, since you re-released like the new edition with the 2 CD set, that the album's been getting more attention?
Oh my God, yeah, it's all over the world. We're getting No Dust is Insanity Records is out of New York. No Dust is out of Amsterdam. So we're getting worldwide distribution now. We got people in Japan, England, Germany, Austria, Greece.
That's amazing.
Paris, France.
Places in the world that the band's never even stepped foot in, and they're into your music. That's gotta really.
And rock metal is huge over in Europe, way more than here.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's kind of what I've heard. That
it's sad to say, but that's the truth of it.
Yeah, and like since you guys put out the new issue of the album with the double CDs, I was curious. When somebody buys it, does it count like as 2 separate releases since they're 2 separate titles, or does it count as one release?
No, it's one album now. They were super cool to repackage that for us.
Yeah.
When we got signed to the distribution deal, they repackaged both those CDs for us and created that whole thing. Of course, you know, we helped design it and all that. No, you know, they ran it all by us, but it was them that repackaged that whole thing, and they're distributing it all over the world for us. I mean, we're getting airplay all over the world.
That's great. And you know, as far as I know, you guys play out nationally and you do a lot of local shows, but have you ever played outside of a country? Like you say, you're big in these European countries. Has there ever been any talk to go there? Or?
Oh yeah, we were actually trying to do some festivals. We put our name in the hat recently to try to go and play in Austria, but I don't think it happened. It didn't happen. They already had their lineup. But we're hoping to make that happen. That would be my ultimate dream come true.
Yeah, and I would say since the pandemic and all the lockdowns, I mean, since everything's kind of opened up again, it seems like you guys do some gigging pretty regularly. So I think that's a pretty good thing.
We do, and primarily when if we're playing, if Love and War is playing, it's usually probably opening for a national show. We just did Ace Frehley a couple months ago.
What was that like? What's he like to play with? I mean,
that's the second time we've played with Ace. He doesn't really talk to anybody, but his band is phenomenally badass. They're just super cool guys, man.
Yeah.
I went out and drank with two of them. Afterwards.
Yeah, some of those guys, you know, they played in Gene Simmons' solo band. Some of them I've heard have played with Accept, so that's pretty cool. He's got a killer lineup.
Yeah, oh yeah. We just did a show with Accept. We did a show last October with Accept. And we also just did a show with Slaughter and what's his name, the singer for Rat.
Stephen Pearcy.
Stephen Pearcy. Yeah, that was a sold out show.
See, all those acts you mentioned are, I mean, they're all within the hard rock metal genre, but they're all quite different. And that's something I've always noticed about Love and War. You guys are able to go out with almost pretty much anybody. I mean, maybe like, I don't know, you could play with a Slayer type, but who knows? Maybe you could. You know, you might.
We got some pretty heavy stuff. We could. I mean, we could hold our own with that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and that's and I've always loved the name of the band because, you know, Love and War. Those are the two things people commonly, even when you're talking about somebody in a relationship. Yeah, sometimes
Spare and Love and War, baby.
Life is love and war. I mean, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
Good times, bad times. Yeah.
Someone's always pulling for pleasure. The other one's always pushing for pain. You know.
Yeah.
Love and War, baby.
And so I want to also thank our mutual friend, the Lord of PR, for setting this interview up tonight. And he mentioned to me, and he knows who he is, that you guys are starting to talk about writing the next album. Where are you with that?
Well, actually, now that we've got Greg joined the band, who actually was he recorded both our CDs. So it was a perfect mix to grab Greg and bring him into the band. Plus, he's a phenomenal guitar player and a great guy. So I mean, he knows all our stuff because he recorded us. So him and John are actually kicking some ideas around. I've gotten a couple of snippets of some stuff.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. He started out as your producer, your engineer, or something, and then he worked his way into the band. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we recorded it. He recorded our first album back when Bobby Blotzer, the drummer for Rat, was here in Houston.
Wow.
Him and Jeff Diamond, he had Diamond Amplification. Well, they had a recording studio here that he was doing.
Okay.
And Greg was the house producer and sound engineer at that recording studio. And we went in that studio and recorded Up the Ante. And he did such a phenomenal job that when we decided to do the second CD, we called him and it said, "Hey, do you still have your recording gear?" And he was like, "Yes." And but he had moved to Missouri. And he said, "I still have it, but give me a little bit of time to find a place to put it. And I'll call you back and we can definitely do something." And so within a couple of weeks, he called us back and said, "I got this badass place in a place called the Abbey," which was a 150-year-old abbey. It had a cathedral next to it. It was a bed and breakfast. It had been abandoned since the 70s, but it was a makeshift hospital during the Civil War. And nuns had lived there, and there's their graveyard. There's a graveyard. It's 70 acres of property, and it's like I said, it's over 150 years old, and it's absolutely. It looks like you're in Europe. It looks
so
like.
Did you guys stay in any of the rooms? Like, did you camp out?
Yes.
There? Wow.
Yes, and they let us have full run of the. I mean, it was spooky because John and his woman Jackie they were staying in a different hotel for a while there, and I was staying upstairs in a room upstairs there.
Wow.
And we'd get done recording and they would all leave and I'd be walking through that place in the pitch black, like going up 3 flights of stairs going, "Hey, you know, don't be popping out and scaring the shit out of me or anything," because it was spooky as hell. And I'd hear footsteps above me and there was nobody on the 3rd floor.
And I was on the 2nd floor. I bet recording in an environment like that, that's got to kind of affect you somewhat or have an influence.
It was super cool. I mean, there was there was a pipe organ in the cathedral and a piano in there and an old theater and stuff. And they let us, we had our own little ghost tours thing. We would cruise through there at night with flashlights and we had a blast. We had a blast staying there.
I mean, just reminiscing, I could tell you're having fun just kind of reliving it.
Oh yeah, it wasn't a scary vibe. It was a cool vibe.
Oh yeah, I get it.
The only time I got creeped out was when Greg took us down to the basement to the sub level, and as soon as I got to the bottom of the stairs, the hair on my arms and my face felt like I had ants crawling all over me, and my hair was all standing up. And he told me, I said, man, I'm creeped out. I can't stay down here. Something's weird. And he told us after we came back up that was the morgue where they stacked the bodies during the Civil War.
Oh.
And I was like, yeah, I could feel it. You could just feel a spooky vibe down there.
But I mean, recording like in a typical standard studio is one thing, but then in an environment like that, I mean,
it felt like we were Black Sabbath, and recording in Paris or something, in a castle, because it was sort of along those lines. It was a very old, cool building, and it definitely helped, I think, the sound.
In fact, you mentioned being a Judas Priest fan. I heard in an interview where Rob Halford talked about when they did their album British Steel, they recorded it in I think John Lennon's studio, and they said,
wow,
yeah, he's like, that just kind of gave us a major vibe,
Oh yeah, man. I mean, we just lit candles everywhere, and it was just a really cool down home, very relaxing atmosphere to record in. And of course, Greg is just super laid back guy anyway.
So now that Greg is in the band, do you think you guys will utilize his engineering and production skills still?
Oh, absolutely. And he's a phenomenal guitar player too, and a great songwriter. So it was a win-win for us all the way around. So
yeah, I mean, people say there's something about working with an outside producer. Maybe that's true, but I think too oftentimes when you have a guy inside the band, they have a better feel for what the band's about than some outsider.
He's a part of the mix now, so he's vested, And
and that's true too, because he's like you said, he's been there since day one, part of the team, and so he's got even more vested interest in doing a good job, production wise.
Well, now too, we sound so fat and full with the extra guitar doing the rhythm tracks that normally are missing when we play live. John used to have to switch it back and forth, and when he goes into his leads and starts shredding, that rhythm kind of drops out. Not anymore. With Greg there, it's just full fat in your face, and it's awesome.
And so how do they split the guitar parts? Is it a matter of John's kind of the lead guy and Greg does the rhythm parts, or?
Yeah, but I mean, Greg could hold it. Actually, on one of the songs that we do, Greg and him switch off leads. So, but for the most part, John has always done, pretty much done the leads because him and I.
That's his role. That's his role. Yeah.
We've always written the majority of the material.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. It gives you guys a fatter sound. I mean, most of the bands I've loved anyways all my life growing up. Always been at least 2 guitar bands. I mean, I really loved it when Iron Maiden became a 3 guitar band for the simple fact they didn't want to ask Janet to leave.
They do those harmonizing guitars, and and it just sounds fat and huge.
And I love the fact that they didn't want to ask their buddy to leave the band just because Adrian Smith came back. So,
yeah, no shit. That's camaraderie, man.
And so you do this pretty much full time, or do you still are you a working musician, Jeff, like a lot of people, and you have a day job and you do this on the side?
Yeah. I'm a civil inspector by day and rocker by night. So
that's pretty cool because it gives you kind of I would think a balance in life. You do what you have to pay the bills and support your family, and then on the weekend you got these gigs you can go out and kind of forget about all your problems and just rock out.
Music has always been my release. I'd go absolutely out of my skin if I didn't have music. Yeah. It's definitely a release.
You ever have people friends or people you work with at the day job find out you're in a band and never come see you, like, oh wow, man, Jeff, I had no idea that you're.
I've had that happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I pull my hair back, and put it in the ponytail, and when I'm wearing a hard hat, they don't even know I have one.
Like, oh wow, you look different.
And then they'll come and see me, and at a gig, and go, who the hell is that guy? It's kind of funny.
So when you guys record, do you ever have anything left over? Let's say like when you get ready to go record the next album, will you revisit something that maybe didn't make it onto the last album?
We've done that a bunch. John and I had so many tunes from back in the, back when the Works days and back in the Lestat days. We had a band called Lestat that we went to LA with and all that, and we had a lot of great material. So, every once in a while we'll pull an old one out of the hat and kind of see if we can
there's a love and
bring it into the millennium.
There's a Love and War vault. That's good to hear. And I've always been of the thought that just because it maybe didn't make onto the last album doesn't mean it's not a good song. I mean, like I talked to John Corabi once, and he's telling me a song he put on his last solo album. He's like, I've had that song laying around for like the last 30 years. I finally found a place for it. And if it's
that happens a lot.
If it's a good song, it's a good song. It doesn't matter if it was written 30 years ago.
It happens a lot, and that you just kind of revamp it and bring it into the millennium.
Yeah.
My cat came to visit me.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Well, John, excuse me, Jeff, it was great getting to know you today. Like I said, you're welcome back anytime. Let's keep in touch. And
absolutely.
And maybe next time you and John can do the interview, whatever, or whoever wants to come on. We have a policy here. Anybody wants to come on and talk, because we love to talk about rock and metal and hard rock.
Maybe we could do a group Skype thing, and we can have Greg, and we can have everybody in the band, a part of it.
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. And this interview we just did, it'll probably go up next week sometime. I'll be sure to let you know. Feel free to post it on the Love and War site, and take care, my friend. Have a good rest of your evening.
Great. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you, buddy.
Bye-bye.